Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. My name's Cody, and I post every single Tuesday and Thursday on my business adventures and how they can help speed you along in yours. Today's topic of the video, your price of admission when you're getting into business. If you have no money and no experience, everyone in your sphere is probably going to say that you are paying too much, you are spending too much time, you're borrowing at too high of rates. When I got started in real estate, I overpaid for stuff. Arguable, but people said I overpaid. I borrowed at interest rates that were higher than market for both the seller finance portion and for the down payment portion. And I spent too much time trying to make my deals work. And then I did the same thing in business. I spent a lot of time trying to make it work for the consulting company, spent a bunch of money trying to figure it out, going to conferences and all that. And I didn't qualify for conventional products, so if I did borrow money for something, it was on a credit card. It was very expensive. When you're getting started, if you don't have any resources, you don't have connections, you don't have money, you don't have assets, you are going to pay a very high price of admission, whatever it is. I just looked at my motel conversion, and I looked at an interest statement. I paid $160,000 in interest, and we've negative cash flowed that 6 figures this year. Not exactly fun, but I bought it having never done that before, so I didn't have the connections. I didn't have any money involved in the deal, so I had a high interest rate, but I got ownership of the asset, and I got to do it. Now I'm turning it around, refinancing it, getting it to cash flow. The price of admission is so high, and so I look at the numbers and they were gross compared to what I can do now. When I was getting started, I paid more than I probably should have for certain assets. I made it work because I spent a lot of time, and I borrowed a lot of money to do it at higher than average rates. If you are starting and you have nothing, everyone in your sphere will tell you you are paying too much, you're borrowing too much, you're borrowing at too high of a rate, you're spending too much time, you're spinning around in the little hamster wheel. Whatever it is, that is okay, because that is the price you pay for not having the resources the rich and the wealthy people do. When you get rich and wealthy, you can start playing the game of getting better prices, getting the best debt products, having other people do things for you instead of you spending way too much time trying to figure it out yourself. But you haven't paid the price of admission yet. You haven't. So you have to do that up front. And while there's going to be a lot of people online that are wealthier than you that say, well, you shouldn't be borrowing at that high of an interest rate, or maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your family members, maybe it's your friends. You shouldn't be borrowing that much money at that high of a rate. You should get a better price. Does it move you forward should be the question you're asking yourself. If it does, and you can make it work, and an example of this, I bought a deal and my down payment was borrowed at 12% interest when other people at the time were getting 3% interest rates on their loans. They were getting 6% interest for their investor money, and I was paying 12%. Borrowing that 12% interest loan got me started and has made me millions of dollars. Indirectly from that deal, that single deal has made me over $500,000. And cash flows consistently every single month along the way. I could have listened to those other people, but it moved me forward. I paid a higher price than they would have, and I paid a higher price both on the interest rate and on the deal than the people with money would have. But I spent a lot of time and I made the deal work. You can't listen to people that have different resources than you and do exactly what they're doing right now, because whatever they did to get there is not what's going to get them to the next level. Just like whatever you have to do to get to the next level from wherever you're at, maybe you're at level 1. To get to level 2, great. But to go from level 2 to level 3, maybe you get from 0 assets to $1 million in assets, and then you want to go from 1 to 5, and then 5 to 10, and 10 to 30. Each of those steps is going to look a little different. So your advice, the principles may be the same, but the advice may be a little bit different. And in the beginning, you're in those first few stages trying to get to the first 10 million in assets. You're probably going to pay a little bit more for those assets, and you're probably going to have a little higher interest rate because you're not as credible with the banks. You don't get the best rates. You don't have the best connections. Don't be afraid to pay more. That is the price of getting in the business game when you don't have anything. That's what stops most people from getting started. And that is a big mistake. Be willing to pay more if it moves you forward. If it doesn't move you forward and it's just a stupid business idea, don't pursue it. Don't spin your wheels out. But if it is a idea and the math makes sense and it logics, it's not some crazy harebrained idea, but the math actually plays out and makes sense in your head. And when you pitch it to other people, they're like, yeah, but you could probably get a better price or a lower interest rate. If it moves you forward, do it. And because of that, I was able to get to 30 million in assets with partners and then sell out of the partnerships and buy some of them out and consolidate down to about 10 million in assets without my partners. So that's the 10 million-ish, a little north of that, outside of all the splits and having some properties on my own and some business stuff on my own. You can get there too, but you can't get too wrapped up in the, I got to get the best pricing or I got to get the best interest rate. You are going to get the higher price and you're going to get the higher interest rate when you're getting started. You're also going to spend more time than you will in a few years. But because you do that, and you're willing to do that while other people are sitting on the sidelines, you're going to look back in 5 years. I've been doing this for 5 years now. 6 years as a real estate agent, 5 years as an owner. You're going to be able to look back and say, I truly do have different problems than I did back then. And whether you only get to 2 million in assets, 5, if you're at 0 right now, that's a heck of a lot better than where you were. You're going to have a different problem than you have back then. And new problems, bigger problems, have bigger payouts. So be willing to pay the higher price of admission. That is just a fact of the business. If you don't have any money, resources, don't have the connections, you're going to do that. But it will pay out, and that is what everybody has to go through if they don't have those resources. I know I sure did. If you like this type of content, please hit the subscribe button. I don't edit. I'll stutter, I'll make mistakes, but I truly believe that it's that simple that I can get from A to Z on the video. Even if I make some mistakes, there's no reason to edit, because in a 3-minute to 8-minute long video can get some content out that will help you. If you think this is helpful for yourself or a friend, please share it. Hit the like button. If you don't like this type of content, yet you still managed to make it this far in the video, give me a comment that says you don't like it. Either way, I'm going to keep posting every Tuesday and Thursday. And till then, have a great weekend.